The United States was once a nation thoroughly connected by rail. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, passenger trains were the dominant mode of long-distance travel. A vast network, spanning over 250,000 miles, crisscrossed the nation. Elegant passenger cars carried travelers in comfort and style, connecting communities large and small. The railroads were a symbol of progress and innovation, instrumental in shaping the American economy and identity. The romance of the rails captured the imagination of the nation, with iconic train lines like the 20th Century Limited and the California Zephyr becoming synonymous with luxury and adventure. During this golden age, the rhythmic clatter of wheels on tracks was the soundtrack of a nation on the move. The mid-20th century witnessed a seismic shift in American transportation. The rise of the automobile, coupled with the allure of air travel, began to eclipse the dominance of passenger trains. The U.S. government invested heavily in highway construction, spurred by the popularity of personal vehicles. The interstate highway system, launched in the 1950s, made car travel faster and more convenient. Meanwhile, advancements in aviation technology made air travel increasingly accessible. Jet aircraft introduced in the post-war era dramatically reduced travel times and offered a new level of comfort and speed. As car ownership soared and air travel gained popularity, passenger trains gradually lost their appeal for many Americans. The once mighty rail network began to shrink. In recent years, amidst growing concerns about climate change and the environmental impact of transportation, there has been a resurgence of interest in passenger trains. Trains offer a more sustainable alternative to cars and planes, especially for medium-distance travel. The environmental benefits of rail travel are significant. Trains emit far less carbon dioxide per passenger mile compared to cars and planes, especially when powered by electricity. This has led to a renewed focus on investing in passenger rail as a way to reduce transportation emissions and combat climate change. Moreover, the increasing congestion on highways and in airports has led many to reconsider the convenience and efficiency of train travel. High-speed rail lines in particular offer the promise of fast, comfortable, and environmentally friendly travel. Recognizing the potential of passenger rail, both the U.S. government and the private sector have stepped up investments in recent years. Significant funding has been allocated to improve existing rail infrastructure and develop new high-speed rail lines. The Biden administration has made rail infrastructure a key priority, announcing billions of dollars in funding for Amtrak and other rail projects. This includes substantial investments in the Northeast Corridor, the busiest passenger rail corridor in the United States. Private companies are also entering the passenger rail market, enticed by the potential for profit and innovation. Brightline, a private rail operator, has launched successful high-speed services in Florida and plans to expand to other regions. Section 5 Amtrak, America's Railroad, facing familiar headwinds. Amtrak, the national passenger railroad of the United States, plays a vital role in connecting communities across the country. Operating on over 20,000 miles of track, Amtrak serves millions of passengers annually. However, Amtrak faces numerous challenges, including aging infrastructure and competition from other modes of transportation. One of the biggest hurdles is that Amtrak often shares tracks with freight railroads, which can lead to delays and scheduling conflicts. Moreover, Amtrak's reliance on government subsidies and its inability to fully control its infrastructure have limited its ability to invest in new technologies and services. Despite these challenges, Amtrak remains a vital part of the American transportation landscape. Section 6. A perfect storm factors contributing to the decline of passenger rail. The decline of passenger rail in the United States can be attributed to a confluence of factors. Over the decades, a series of developments and policy decisions have collectively undermined the once thriving rail system. The rise of the automobile and the expansion of the highway system played a significant role. As cars became more affordable and highways more extensive, Americans increasingly chose the convenience and flexibility of driving over the fixed schedules of trains. Government policies that favored road and air travel over rail also contributed to the decline. Substantial investments were made in building and maintaining highways and airports, while rail infrastructure was often neglected. The post-war boom in car ownership and suburbanization led to a decline in demand for passenger trains. As families moved to the suburbs, they relied more on personal vehicles for their daily commutes and long-distance travel. As more Americans moved to suburbs and acquired cars, the need for intercity rail travel diminished. The convenience of having a car at one's disposal made train travel seem less necessary and less appealing. Furthermore, the deregulation of the airline industry in the 1970s led to increased competition and lower airfares, making flying a more attractive option for many travelers. This shift further eroded the market share of passenger rail. The combination of these factors created a perfect storm that led to the decline of passenger rail. The once dominant mode of intercity travel struggled to compete with the growing popularity of cars and planes, leading to a significant reduction in rail services and infrastructure. Section 7. The 1970 Act, a turning point for American rail. The Rail Passenger Service Act of 1970 marked a turning point in the history of American passenger rail. This landmark legislation was a response to the declining state of passenger rail services, which had been struggling for years due to competition from automobiles and airlines. This act created Amtrak, the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, to take over the operation of intercity passenger trains. Amtrak was envisioned as a way to preserve a vital mode of transportation that was on the brink of extinction. Prior to the act, private railroad companies were required to provide passenger service, even if it was unprofitable. These companies were losing money on passenger services, which led to deteriorating conditions and declining ridership. The 1970 Act relieved them of this obligation, allowing them to focus on their more profitable freight operations. This shift enabled private railroads to invest more in their freight services, which were crucial for the economy. While the creation of Amtrak ensured the continuation of some passenger rail service, it also led to a significant reduction in the size of the national network. Many routes that were deemed unprofitable were cut, and the focus shifted to more viable corridors. Many routes were discontinued, and stations were abandoned, leaving many communities without access to passenger trains. This had a profound impact on small towns and rural areas that had relied on these services for decades. The 1970 Act was indeed a turning point, reshaping the landscape of American rail travel. Section 8. Iron horses at a crossroads. The uncertain future of U.S. passenger rail. The future of passenger rail in the United States remains uncertain. Despite the growing interest in sustainable and efficient transportation options, the path forward is fraught with challenges and complexities. While there is renewed interest in rail travel, driven by environmental concerns and the limitations of other modes of transportation, significant challenges remain. The push for greener alternatives has highlighted the potential of rail systems to reduce carbon emissions and alleviate traffic congestion. Funding for rail infrastructure remains a major obstacle. The high costs associated with building and maintaining rail networks have deterred substantial investment, leaving many projects stalled or abandoned. The United States lags behind many other developed countries in terms of investment in passenger rail. Countries in Europe and Asia have made significant strides in developing high-speed rail networks, setting a benchmark that the U.S. has yet to meet. Competition from cars and planes, deeply ingrained travel habits, and the vast distances of the country also pose challenges. The convenience and established infrastructure of air and road travel make it difficult for rail to compete. Overcoming these obstacles will require a sustained commitment to passenger rail from policymakers, industry leaders, and the public. Collaborative efforts and innovative solutions are essential to revitalize the rail industry. A comprehensive national rail plan with a focus on high-speed rail corridors connecting major metropolitan areas could be a step in the right direction. Such a plan would not only modernize the rail system, but also promote economic growth and environmental sustainability. Section 9. Back on track, embracing the potential of rail. Despite the challenges, there are reasons for cautious optimism about the future of passenger rail in the United States. Growing awareness of the environmental and economic benefits of rail travel is creating new opportunities for investment and innovation. Technological advancements such as high-speed rail and battery-powered trains have the potential to make rail travel even more appealing. High-speed rail, in particular, could revolutionize travel between major cities, offering a fast, comfortable, and sustainable alternative to flying. The future of passenger rail in the United States will depend on the choices made today. By embracing the potential of rail, the nation can create a more sustainable, efficient, and connected transportation system for generations to come.